This is the Man in a Room podcast.
That's a nice nap. What year is this? Sorry, it's 2020, what? I fell asleep in like 2018, what happened? That's crazy. What happened in 2019? What? Anyway, here I am again, having had a massive nap and a massive time of just searching inside myself for the hero inside and just philosophically just trying to work out what's going on in the world. It's been very strange. And a lot has changed in that time, and it's been quite a journey. And I dare say I'll be sharing it with you over the next X amount of weeks, and I hope that you enjoy listening to it. I wouldn't personally, but that's just me. But anyway, what have I been up to? So, it's very hard to explain really without going into too much detail, because a lot of it is actually quite personal. But I ended up basically just cutting myself off from the world, and it's actually very strange to do that, especially in the 21st century. It is the 21st century, isn't it? Yeah. It's very unusual when you live in two different centuries, because I remember the 20th century, and I also remember the 21st century. Do you know, every time I think of 21st century, I think of two things. I think of T-Rex, 21st Century Boy, and the girl group 21st Century Girls, who I haven't thought of until right now, and I would doubt they're still going. In fact, I can remember one of their songs, and only kinda 21st Century Girls. That's all I can remember of it. And the only reason I remember them actually, genuinely true, is because they were basically trying to force everyone to like this band. There was basically, this is the time of girl groups, and there's a different time back then, and they want to have like a more of a rock version of the Spice Girls or whatever. And they had these girls, the 21st Century Girls, obviously inspired from the glam rock of T-Rex, 21st Century Boy. And the only reason I remember them is because they were on the front cover of a magazine I used to get, which only ever existed for 2 issues, I can remember, I should say. And it was called Planet Game Boy, I think, because I used to really be into the Game Boy, the old handheld Nintendo thing, because it was amazing. It was like the games were good and it was cheap, and I always liked the idea of having constraints on a system. So basically, they had 4 colours and that was what they used, and obviously the Game Boy Color, I'm not going to get into that. But I remember they were on the front cover of this magazine. They interviewed them about computer games and this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I don't understand why you're trying to get a celebrity involved in this because, with respect to those girls, I don't really think they were into Game Boys that much. Maybe they were, I don't know. But they basically stuck them on the front of this cover. I remember the front cover was this horrible lime green colour. Oh, it was horrible. But anyway, there I digress. Anyway, so what have I been up to? Well, I had a lot of mental health issues, which I don't really want to go into personally, but I do suffer from them. And occasionally they manifest themselves in very strange ways. And one of the way it manifested itself was I basically, like I said earlier, I cut myself off from the internet. And basically just everyone around me. It's not obviously my family and my friends and that kind of stuff, but I basically minimised my actual experience in life, and I basically made it this very core thing. And I basically didn't watch the TV. I didn't listen to the radio. I just listened to my music, and it was very strange because people do often say that, especially on social media, that it's like an echo chamber. If you just surround yourself with people who are of your same thought patterns, and that kind of, it becomes like an echo chamber. So basically, that's it. That's your little world. But my little world was even smaller than that. I wasn't even going on like websites. I was literally just like, I'm gonna just do my best to try and keep away from the internet and not know anything. And it was a very strange experience. And would I recommend it? I don't know, because I was so out of touch with everything. I didn't know what the heck was going on in the world. Because people often talk about these like retreats where, they go to the middle of nowhere and they cut themselves off and they basically sit there in a field without their phones, without the internet, without anything like that. No sensory pleasures whatsoever. And that's it. And it's an expensive, as they call it a retreat, it's an expensive thing to do for some reason, even though it consists of nothing, essentially. It essentially means you don't even have to have like performance rights, whatever it's called, the PRS license that you have to have if you have a radio on in a shop or whatever that's called. It's really expensive. Oh, you have to, but they feed you and they give you a place to sleep. Okay, I can do that at my house. That's not a big deal. And that's what I did pretty much. And it's very strange, especially when I came back to the internet after that. I was like, what is going on? What is this? This is weird. I don't understand this. What TikTok? What? I didn't know what Vine is, to be fair. And what's actually very weird about it is that since I've immersed myself back into the world of the internet, I'm like, it's changed so much. Like, it's really bizarre. Vines, say TikTok, Byte, That's right. That's how up to date I am. I know what byte is. It's rubbish, but because that's what I mean. I've always used to be quite interested in the way the internet works, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm now like, well, this is an interesting little tool they're using there. And also Reddit. I mean, I love Reddit. I've loved Reddit for years now, and I recommend everyone should get a Reddit account and just enjoy Reddit for what it is. I think Facebook, dead. Don't worry about it. There's no point. Facebook is just a place for your mum to hang out. If you are listening, mum, hi, mum. But that's true. That's where people hang out, and but Reddit is where it's all about. I mean, Reddit is just content in your face, all that kind of stuff, all the good stuff as well. That's where I get all my funny memes. That's where I got my lovely video of David Bowie saying meme school, which I adore. Like, someone found that clip of him saying, for some reason, I don't even know where the context is, meme school. He says meme school. He goes, meme school. But it's David Bowie saying it. It's like, what? So anyway, oh my God, I've gone on such a tangent here. But that's the way these things run. And I'm sorry if it's hard to listen to, but we'll get through it. I'm excited. It's my first episode back. It's my first episode back, and I'm just excited about it. So anyway, I need to get this under control because it's just getting out of hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick break, make myself a nice cup of tea, and basically regroup and try and work out what this episode is going to be about.
If you have any thoughts, comments, or questions, please do not hesitate to send them to show@maninaroom.co.uk.
So as I was saying in the first part of the episode, I managed to cut myself off from the internet. I had no outside influence, be it television, the internet, radio, anything. I was just listening to music all the time, and that's all I was doing. It's a very strange sort of situation to be in, and it actually was very reminiscent for me because I was part of the last generation that didn't really have the internet. I mean, the internet in my house was about early 2000s, and even then it wasn't really didn't sort of take over the entire thing. It's basically like a cupboard in a computer that you'd have to sort of sit there for hours on dial-up, trying to understand what's going on, and just basically connecting with people and finding information about old TV shows that you forgot about. And it's like, wow, this internet is amazing. There's so much stuff is on it. You know, I remember being in the 90s where you would literally just hang out. That's what you used to do. You used to basically just hang out. You used to watch TV. You used to play video games, listen to radio. And that was it. That's what you used to do. You used to watch TV as a family and all that kind of stuff. And I actually remember that my grandfather, one of my grandfathers I should say, he actually used to do the same thing. He didn't used to watch TV. He used to just listen to his classical music and philosophize about different bits and pieces. And I thought, wow, kind of interesting how that's come full circle, really, how that I'm actually doing almost the same thing. It's very weird though, because when I actually started coming back into society, as it were, of the internet, and getting back into like having outside influences coming back in again, it was very odd. One of the things that really struck me was advertising, because if you don't have the TV or the radio or the internet, there is no advertising. You don't get any adverts at all. I used to have YouTube Premium because there was like a free 3 months free thing, and so I wasn't even getting adverts on YouTube, and so I didn't have any sort of advertisements, and it's very strange when they started to come back in again, especially on television. It's like, what is this? How weird is that? Trying to make me buy something, and it's just very unusual. Because one of my concerns was that after a while, what would actually happen if I continued it? Would I start going a bit mad? Like, would I start... I'm already quite weird as it is anyway, but would I become much more weird than I already am? Because that's always a worry, because I'm quite a weird person as it is. So the idea that I could literally become unhinged... I won't say unhinged, that's a bit strong, but an oddball, a proper grade A oddball, someone who doesn't know what's going on in the world, not knowing what's going on in the news. That was always quite weird when people say, oh, have you seen that thing in the news? No. Oh, did you see that TV show? No. Did you see that thing on Facebook? No. It's just very odd. People trying to explain to me about stuff. And it was actually quite an important thing for me to do, I think, for myself anyway, because it let me see things as they were. Like the idea that people would take to Facebook if they're annoyed about something, or there'd be like a Twitter hashtag protest or whatever, and all that kind of stuff, and just adverts, and just the media in general is actually kind of weird when you actually look at it from an outsider point of view, because as soon as you start watching the news, you notice there's a certain amount of skew and sort of bias and all that kind of stuff that would go on with it. You'd notice it, and you say, okay, so why are they mentioning that and not that? Why on this channel they're mentioning this first and then that second, and that thing that was second on that channel is now first and that one second, or they're not mentioning it at all? It's very interesting the way the media works, and it's just having sort of stepped back from it all and then stepping back towards it. It's like, intriguing, but it is what it is. And one of the things that I've fallen in love with since I've come back to modern culture is, like I said, the internet. The internet is actually finally a place where I wished it was when I was younger, because I remember years ago I used to do like podcasts and blogs and all that kind of stuff, and I used to really enjoy enjoy. I used to do internet radios and all that kind of stuff. I used to love doing that as well. And now it's a case of everyone can do that. And the technology is finally caught up. I was like, wow, cool. And, what's really funny about it all is that I'm 35 years old and I'm fascinated by all this kind of stuff. And I'm actually considered old when it comes to certain cultures. I mean, Reddit, probably a bit old for that. Vine, well, although Vine has died, I'm a bit old for that. I'm not really the demographic for that. There are certain Reddit boards that I say, which I'm definitely not the demographic, but I still find hilarious. I like the sort of humour that I can now finding on the internet, because it's like, this is really my sense of humour. Like, I wish that this sense of humour was around years ago, because it's what I was enjoying years ago, and suddenly it's there. And I'm like, yes, I'm so happy that this is happening, but I'm also too old to really be watching it. YouTubers, I watch a lot of YouTube. I shouldn't be watching YouTube at the age of 35. I really shouldn't. I should be, going to bed at 9 o'clock with some cocoa and reading my Kindle. But no, I don't do that. I sit there and watch hours and hours of YouTube, all the Max Mofos, the iDubbbz, the Jackmates. I'm watching all that kind of stuff, and I really shouldn't be watching it because I'm too old, but it just makes me laugh. And yeah, that's the one thing I like about the internet, is the fact that it's no longer a place where you have to censor yourself, and that's very good. It's now a creative hub where people can just create whatever they want, and it's fine. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to have a following. As long as you have a creative spark, it doesn't matter. Just go for gold. Be who you want to be. And that's what I enjoy, especially now. It used to be like years ago, but now it's no longer like the Wild West. There are ways and measures of doing things. I don't know, I'm going with that. If I'm honest, I've run out of steam. So anyway, this has been the first episode back of Man in the Room. I've really enjoyed it. And I plan on doing another episode for next week, so hopefully you'll join me for that. So until then, this is me saying goodbye.
Who is the man? Where is the room? It's some guy you've never heard of, in a room you've never been in. For more information, head over to maninaroom.co.uk.